Okay, let's unpack this deep dive. If you're looking at building a career or maybe even starting a business here in Alberta, specifically in the insurance world, this is really for you.
Mm,
Maybe you've just landed in the province, you're thinking about a completely different career path, or perhaps you're already a financial advisor, licensed, but looking to explore insurance entrepreneurship.
that's right. And our source material, it acts as a guide, really, for navigating Alberta's insurance licensing landscape. It lays out the rules, the different pathways you can take,
Right.
and importantly, how these licenses can actually be stepping stones for building something scalable, something sustainable.
So our mission today is basically to cut through the complexity and give you a clear, informative picture
Yeah.
based purely on what this guy tells us, just helping you grasp the core possibilities.
Exactly. And the starting point, according to this material, is the Alberta Insurance Council, the AIC. They're the regulators here.
Okay.
And the source focuses on the main license categories they manage.
All right, let's dive straight in then. What are these main categories our source material points to?
Well, the guide identifies 5 key ones: general insurance licenses, life and accident and sickness licenses, then adjuster licenses, restricted business licenses, and also something called captive insurance licenses.
Okay, 5 types.
Yeah, and it highlights that each one has its own specific requirements, its own pathways, and, different implications for your work or your business venture.
Let's start with one that's probably pretty familiar to most people, general insurance. So this is things like car insurance, home, commercial property.
Yeah.
What does the source tell us about the licenses here?
Right. So this category, it's actually structured into 3 distinct levels. It shows a really clear progression path.
And level 1, that's the starting point, the entry level.
Precisely. That's the entry-level agent license. The source says to get this, you need to complete the General Licensing Qualification Program, the GLQP, and pass the exam. Or an approved equivalent course works too. And that qualification, it needs to be recent within 12 months before you actually apply.
And what's the key thing about this level? Especially thinking about someone new to Alberta or maybe shifting careers.
Well, what's interesting here is that level 1 lets you sell general insurance, but, and this is important, you have to work under the supervision of someone with a level 2 or level 3 license.
Oh, okay, so you're not independent yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
The source really presents this as the foundational step. You gain crucial experience, but you're supported within an agency. It's essentially your on-ramp into the industry.
Okay, so level 1 gets your foot in the door, supervised. What's the next step the source outlines?
That would be level 2. That's the independent agent license. The guide specifies that to qualify for level 2, you need to have held that level 1 license for at least 1 year.
1 year, okay.
And you also need to pass the level 2 exam, or again, an approved course equivalent. And same rule applies within 12 months before applying.
Right. This sounds like where you start getting some real autonomy.
Absolutely. The source emphasizes that level 2 is where you can operate independently. You can manage your own clients, sell a broader range of general insurance products, all without direct supervision on every single transaction.
So that's where you can really start building your own client base.
Exactly. Your own book of business, as they say.
And then there's level 3, the designated representative or DAJO or. What does the source say about this role? Its significance.
Yeah, level 3, it's positioned as really the leadership level in general insurance, and the eligibility reflects that. You need to have held a level 2 license for at least 2 years out of the last 3.
2 out of 3, okay.
And pass the level 3 exam or equivalent, again, within that 12-month window before applying.
This sounds particularly relevant for someone with, entrepreneurial ambitions, someone wanting to run their own show.
It really is. The source highlights that the designated representative, the DR, acts as the official representative for a licensed agency. They oversee operations, make sure everything stays compliant with regulations. And it notes a really crucial point. A business can only have 1 DR per class of insurance. So 1 for general insurance, for instance.
Wow.
The material clearly presents level 3 as the pathway for those aiming to own or manage their own general insurance agency. It really shows how progressing through these levels directly allows for, well, scaling up operations and establishing an independent business.
So the general insurance path is this clear ladder. Start supervised at 1, gain independence at 2, and then lead an agency as a level 3 DR. That progression itself seems like a key pathway to scalability the source talks about.
Exactly. It's kind of built right into the licensing structure.
Okay, moving on then. Let's look at life and accident and sickness licenses, the LLQP. This one feels like it could be particularly interesting for existing financial advisors.
Oh, definitely. This license covers products like life insurance, critical illness, disability, other health-related stuff. Now, according to the source, the main requirement is completing the Life Licensing Qualification Program, the LQP, through an approved educator. And you have to pass all the modules of the provincial LOQP exam, again, within 12 months of applying.
What's the scope of this license, and why is it such a strong fit, potentially, for financial advisors?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for that group. The source explicitly states that holding an LOQP license doesn't just let you sell life and A&S products. It also allows you to sell related investment products, things like segregated funds and
Oh,
annuities.
that's a really significant detail, because that directly overlaps with areas financial advisors are already working in.
Precisely. The material suggests this scope aligns perfectly with the existing knowledge base for many financial advisors. It opens up immediate ways to diversify the products they can offer their clients.
Yeah.
So the source basically frames getting the LOQP as a direct route to enhancing client value through cross-selling. And that's presented as a key factor for boosting both scalability and the sustainability of their practice.
That makes a lot of sense. You leverage existing relationships by offering more solutions, kind of all under one roof. Okay, switching gears a bit, the source also mentions adjuster licenses. These aren't about selling insurance, are they?
Correct. Adjusters are focused on investigating and assessing insurance claims. The source outlines 3 levels for adjusters, too, reflecting, increasing experience and the complexity of claims they handle.
So what does that progression look like?
It starts with level 1, the entry-level adjuster. They handle claims, but under supervision. To get to level 2, the intermediate adjuster, you need significant experience. The source mentions around 24 months of claims adjusting.
Okay.
Plus, completing specific industry courses, like from the Insurance Institute. This allows handling more complex claims with less supervision.
And level 3, the top tier.
Level 3 is the senior adjuster. This usually requires completing a full professional program, like the CIP designation, and demonstrating really extensive experience, something like 60 months within the past decade.
Wow, okay.
A level 3 adjuster can handle pretty much any type of claim independently and might supervise other adjusters. So while you're right, it's not sales-focused, the source includes it as a vital part of the whole insurance industry structure. Advancing through these levels builds credibility and allows for specialization.
Got it. So a distinct career path focused purely on the claims side. What about these restricted business licenses? The name itself sounds like there are limits.
They do have limits. The source describes these as licenses for businesses where selling insurance isn't their main thing, but more of an add-on service, like car dealerships offering financing insurance, or travel agencies selling travel insurance, maybe equipment sellers offering warranty or damage insurance. It's ancillary.
So this is more for an existing business adding an insurance product, not an individual starting an insurance agency from scratch.
Exactly. The source outlines requirements like having a designated individual responsible for the license within the business, submitting separate applications for each type of insurance they want to offer, like auto dealer insurance versus travel insurance. And the fees are often tied to how many employees are actually involved in selling that specific product.
And how does the source frame the benefit or scalability for these businesses?
Well, for these types of businesses, the guide highlights that offering insurance as an add-on service can really enhance customer convenience. Plus, it generates an additional revenue stream. So it supports the scalability of their existing main business by adding another income channel. Helps with overall sustainability, too. Useful insight for, say, existing business owners or people working in those sectors.
That's definitely a different model from the independent agent path, but clearly relevant for certain businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, the final license category the source covers is captive insurance licenses. This sounds like it's for, well, bigger operations.
It generally is. The source explains this allows a business to essentially self-insure. They set up their own insurance company just to cover their own risks.
Interesting.
Eligibility typically requires the business to be incorporated under provincial laws, like the Business Corporations Act.
And I imagine the process is pretty involved.
Oh, yes. The source notes that getting a captive license involves a specific application process, meeting pretty substantial capital requirements set by the regulator, the superintendent of insurance, and rigorous ongoing financial reporting and filings. It's not a simple undertaking.
So what's the strategic advantage mentioned for doing this? Why would a company go through that?
The guide points to a few key benefits. potential cost savings compared to buying insurance on the commercial market, better risk management tailored very specifically to the business's unique operations, and just greater overall control over their insurance programs.
Okay.
It's presented as a strategy that contributes to the long-term financial stability and sustainability of the parent company. But as the source highlights, it's mainly applicable to larger businesses or perhaps very specialized corporate ventures.
So it's a truly diverse landscape we're looking at here. Everything from an individual starting out at level 1 to existing businesses adding a service, all the way to large companies insuring themselves.
It really shows how integral insurance is across so many different economic activities within the province.
Now, beyond these specific license types, the source also gives some general guidelines for the application process itself. What are the key takeaways there?
Yeah, it summarizes some essentials. You'll definitely need a recent criminal record. Check the source is specific. It must be issued within the last 3 months.
Good to know.
Errors and omissions insurance, E&O, that's mandatory for most licenses. There's also a requirement for sponsorship, which essentially means getting a recommendation from an authorized individual or company, like an agency you plan to work with.
Sponsorship, okay.
And the standard processing time, the guide mentions, is typically around 15 business days once everything's submitted correctly.
And it also mentioned, I think, that certain recognized professional programs like the CIP, Chartered Insurance Professional, or CAIB, Canadian Accredited Insurance Broker designations, can sometimes substitute for the exam requirements for certain license levels.
Yes, that's right. That's a valuable detail the source includes. These programs can offer alternative pathways to meet some of those eligibility criteria we discussed, especially for higher levels or for demonstrating ongoing professional development.
Okay. Now, let's pivot a bit. The source seems to really emphasize something. For anyone looking beyond just getting the license, focusing on actually building something successful. It lists, 6 key strategies for business scalability and sustainability. This feels like where the rubber meets the road for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. This section of the source feels very practical, like a blueprint. First off, it stresses education and professional development, constantly learning. Pursuing advanced designations like CIP or CAIB isn't just about having the letters after your name.
Right.
The material points out it significantly enhances your actual expertise and, importantly, your credibility in the market, builds trust.
That makes total sense. More knowledge equals more trust from clients. What's the second strategy?
Second is diversification of services. The source explains that offering a broader range of insurance products and maybe even related financial services, while it meets more of your clients' needs. And crucially, it opens up multiple revenue streams for your business. We saw that potential clearly with the LOQP license allowing investment products. That's a direct example of diversification the source points to.
Right, yeah. If you can do more for a client, their value increases and your business becomes more resilient. What else is on the list?
Third, technological integration. Using digital tools for CRM, managing client info, processing applications, policy admin, all that stuff, it's highlighted by the source as pretty essential for improving efficiency, especially as you grow.
Can't scale without efficiency. Makes sense.
Fourth, regulatory compliance. The source is very clear on this. Staying informed about regulatory changes and strictly adhering to them is fundamental. It frames this not just as avoiding fines,
Right.
but as absolutely essential for the long-term sustainability and the basic integrity of your business.
Yeah, you can't build something lasting if you're constantly tripping over compliance rules. Okay, fifth strategy.
Client relationship management. CRM, but the human side. Building strong, trusting relationships through excellent service. The source emphasizes this, fosters loyalty, and really importantly, drives referrals. It presents this as a core strategy because, let's face it, loyal clients and word of mouth are incredibly powerful growth engines in this industry.
Foundational for any service business, really.
Yeah.
And the sixth and final strategy mentioned.
Strategic partnerships. Collaborating with other businesses or professionals, maybe accountants, lawyers, realtors, it's noted as a way to expand your market reach.
As so?
Well, you could potentially access new client pools through referrals or offer complementary services together. The source suggests this can really accelerate growth beyond what you might achieve just on your own.
So these 6 points together, they really give a comprehensive look at how to move from just being licensed to actively building and growing a successful insurance business based on the guidance in this source. It's about combining the right license with smart business practices.
Exactly. They provide that strategic layer right on top of the licensing foundation.
Okay, so to kind of bring this all together, navigating the insurance licensing world in Alberta, according to our source, really involves understanding these different license types: general, life A&S, adjuster, restricted business, and captive, and knowing the specific requirements and pathways each one offers.
And importantly, for anyone looking to build a real career or a business here, the guide makes it very clear: getting the right license. That's just the first step. You have to adhere to the ongoing guidelines, commit to continuous learning and professional development,
Right.
and strategically implement these practices like diversification, using technology effectively, focusing on client relationships, staying compliant, and building partnerships. These are presented as absolutely crucial for achieving both scalability and long-term sustainability in this industry.
Okay, so let's translate this. What does all this mean for you, our listener? Well, if you're a newcomer to Alberta, or maybe you're thinking about a career change, this source strongly suggests that starting with either the Level 1 general license or pursuing the LLQP seem like the most direct entry points into the license side. Depends if you're drawn more to property and casualty or the life and health side.
Yeah, and if you're already licensed as a financial advisor and you're mulling over adding insurance entrepreneurship to your mix, the scope of that LLQP license, specifically covering segregated funds and annuities, as detailed in this material that clearly highlights a pathway. You can seamlessly integrate insurance offerings with your existing financial expertise and client base. It opens up immediate avenues for diversification.
And if you're that career changer, maybe looking not just for a job, but for the potential to build your own independent future, maybe even your own agency down the line. Understanding that clear progression we talked about, level 1 through level 3 in general insurance, as laid out in this source, it maps out exactly how you gain that increasing autonomy and eventually the ability to lead your own operation.
Absolutely. This material provides a really solid starting point for understanding the landscape, whichever of those situations applies to you.
So, considering these distinct licensing paths and the strategic approaches presented in this source, and maybe reflecting on your own skills or your entrepreneurial vision, with specific path that we detailed here feels most compelling or maybe most aligned with where you want to go. And based purely on the eligibility points we covered from this guide, what would be the very first concrete step, that first requirement you'd need to investigate further right now?
Hey, Filipino-Canadian agents and financial advisors in Calgary. Ready to take your business to the next level? This is not your typical seminar. Pinoy Peso Sense Canada brings you Built to Last, the Filipino-Canadian blueprint for financial success. This is open to all Pinoy financial pros across Canada, not only in Calgary, Alberta. Learn how successful Pinoys are building real empires in the insurance and financial world. Network. Be inspired. Get strategies that actually work. Seats are limited. Opportunities are not. This is your moment. Let's rise, build, and win together. Can't make it to Calgary? No problem. Be among the first 500 to subscribe to Pinoy Peso Sense Canada or email us at contactpinoypesosensecanada@gmail.com to get exclusive access to the full seminar presentation. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. And to stay updated on future episodes and fresh insights, make sure to ring the notification bell. There's plenty more to come. Thank you for watching.